Hello and welcome to my day one on Facebook and Instagram stories. I'm really excited to be here and we're going to learn what are stories. So all about what are stories today. So just waiting for everything to load and I'm going to jump into my overhead for a couple of minutes just to explain to you what are stories, and then we're going to look at where stories are and how you can find them on your social media platforms. So let's just hop into there right now and then we can carry on. If you are joining me today, then please let me know that you're here in the comments. And if you have any questions about what I'm going through today, then please let me know in the comments and I'll answer them later. So before we jump into the overhead, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Anita Wong and I'm a digital tech strategist. So I help you with your digital social media strategy, but I also am quite unique that I help you with the tech behind that. So if you ever get stuck on anything to do with Facebook and Instagram, the techie side of it, like how to do something, then I'm the person to come and see. I do offer lots of free training on my page, and this particular training on what is stories is one of 5 parts that I'm going to be running the whole week. So let's just jump in straight away now and go through what are stories. Okay, so let's just get this up. Okay, so you should be seeing my overhead, and I'm just going to check if anyone's here. So that's great. So let me just jump, sorry, just looks like. Okay, so what are stories? Okay, so before we go into what are stories, I want to tell you about how many people are actually using them. So on Facebook at the moment, 300 million people use stories across Facebook and Messenger. I don't know if you've noticed when you jump into your Messenger that you see the little circles at the top. That's a story, and you can view those from other people in there. And on Instagram, 400 million people around the world use Instagram stories on a daily basis. So what are stories? So a story in the Instagram and Facebook kind is a collection of images and short videos which you can upload into your stories, and you can put optional overlays and effects. So those particular uploads can happen in any one 24-hour period, but after 24 hours, so after exactly 24 hours after you upload one section of your story, it disappears. So it's a really good way of putting a little bit more information online, but knowing that it's not going to stay in your newsfeed. So users view a story in sequence, either by waiting out the whole program or by tapping on the right-hand side of the phone to see them. Now we're going to go over where you find the stories in a second. So I'm going to come off the slideshow and actually show you in real time. So where do you find your stories? So stories can be found within your Facebook profile, inside of Facebook groups, within your Facebook business page, inside of Facebook Messenger, and then over on Instagram, they can be found if you're using a personal account on Instagram or a business account on Instagram. So here there is a few images of the Facebook on a mobile and the Instagram on a mobile. Now, you can see by looking here, you can see my mouse. On the Facebook, these are your stories here. And on Instagram, these little circles are your stories up there. And on a desktop, when you're looking at your home screen on your desktop, your stories are on the right-hand side over here. And on your Facebook business page, they're not as visible to you inside, but to view your stories, you have to click the profile image of the person or scroll down, but I'm going to show you where to find them in a second. So what do stories consist of? So on Facebook, a story can be made up using on your desktop an image, a description, or hashtags. On your mobile, they can be made up using images, video, boomerangs, and when you're on your personal Facebook page, you can go live through stories. Now over on Instagram, they are a little bit more versatile and there's a little bit more you can do with them. So you can use images, descriptions, hashtags, text, video, boomerang, you can go live, and you can add multiple tiles all in one go. So I'm going to show you a little bit about that in a second. Just wanted to go over the basics so that you understood where things are coming from. Okay, so we're going to jump over into my mobile phone now, and I'm going to show you exactly where you can find your stories. So I'm just going to have a quick look to see if anyone's joining us today. Oh, hi, Debbie. So thank you for joining us. Don't jump off just because I've said hello. I know when you're on, it can be a little bit daunting, but don't worry about that. Just leave a little comment in if you have any questions about stories. I've been watching your stories. They've been absolutely fabulous. So well done with those. They're really, really good. So I'm going to just go over and share my mobile phone with you. And I'm going to jump into my Facebook page first. So I want to show you where you can find them on your Facebook page. So let's jump over there. Okay, so hopefully we'll get this up. Okay, so you should be able to see my mobile phone at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to go to my home page. So to get to your home page, you just press the little button on the left-hand side, down there on the left. So along the top there, it says stories. That's where you find the stories from other people. And sometimes you see your own page's story there, because this is my personal profile that I'm in at the moment. And to see the stories, you just tap on the story and it will play. Now, some people will use the little tap here. So you tap it, you can skip to the next section, and then, or you can just wait it out until the section changes. Now, there's lots of different words for each section or tile, and they can be made up of as many tiles or sections as you want in any 24-hour period. So now what happens is that it just flicks to the next one on the list, and I have no idea what's coming up. So as you can see, people are going live on the stories and they're using tags, which is great. And then you can skip over and you can see all sorts of different things on your story. So we're going to close that down. So that's on your story when you're looking as a person. Now, if you want to go to your page and have a look at some stories, you can't see your own, like everyone else's stories on your page, but you can find your own story. And you just have to scroll down and you see where it says view story. You click that. And on your mobile, you can again see your story. But when it comes to the end of the story, it doesn't go on to someone else's story. So the discovery part of stories in Facebook happens on your own profile when you click the home button on the bottom left. And you see you can actually scroll to the right as you go along. And you can scroll to the right to see if you can see any other stories that might be of interest. Now, stories can be found like this along the top, and it's usually those that you are following or you've liked the page of or you're in a group of along here. But you can do a hashtag search for stories, because when you do a normal hashtag search, so say like if I was to put marketing tips and then you search, the photos come along at the top and the links, and then you can watch the video platforms, and then you just go down until a story appears. So there's not much going on in stories at the moment, but there's lots of different accounts that use that hashtag. And what happens with that is that you can click on the hashtag and then search some of the stories. So that's on Facebook on how to find them. So over on Instagram, you find your own story by clicking on your own picture. So the one at the top where it's your profile picture, you click that and it shows your story there. Okay, now if you want to find your own story, other people's stories on Instagram, you have to go to the little home button at the bottom left-hand side. And you see along the top, there are lots of names of stories. Now, these are people who I follow or follow me. So I follow these people so I can see what their stories are like. So when you click on the story, you can see what they're promoting. So let's have a little look. And when you see that little red play button, at the top, that means that that person has gone live this morning or in the last 24 hours. So as you can see, when you click it, you can see that she's actually live. It says at the top, was live 16 hours ago. And then if you go to another one, let's just go to this one. These are pre-recorded videos that she's put into her story as slides or sections. You see at the top, she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections along the top, or slides, in a 24-hour period. And when you're watching one slide, it will tell you how long ago they put that up. So she's put a new one up this morning, 37 minutes ago. But if we tap backwards, this one here with the pussycat was 17 hours ago. And you tap again, it's 18 hours, 20 hours, 20 hours plus. So that's how you can look on Instagram for stories. You can also search. So if I was to put marketing tips up here, and I put the hashtag in front of it, and I search, you see how it comes up with the search. Then when you click it, you can see that it gives you the search for marketing tips. But then if you click the actual circle with the hashtag, you can see all the stories. Actually, mine's come up, which is great. All the stories with the word marketing tip. So marketing tips, you see there's somebody else using it, and it gives you the name of the user at the top. So it's a really good way of optimizing your stories. And what happens with the hashtags, having the hashtags in your story, is that you don't have to be following the person to see your story, because you are being exposed outside to the wider audience. It's a really good way of connecting with your followers, with new followers, and you can actually really go for a much wider audience like that. So that's how you find them on Instagram. So that's how stories work on Instagram. And if you were to like search for them, you can see the person, and then you can click it and you go to that person when you're looking at their story. Okay, so I'm going to stop my share on my desktop and on my phone, and I'm going to show you how to find your stories on your desktop, because we don't all use, I mean, obviously most of us use our mobile phones, but a lot of us also use our desktops to work on, especially in the daytime and work home in the office. So it's nice to be able to find out where to find stories if you're looking on your desktop to see if you can see any. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just check that my desktop's all set up for me to share, and then I'm going to share my desktop with you. So that you can find where you see your stories. Okay, so let me just share my desktop with you. Let me just have a little pause and see if anyone's got any questions or if anyone's joined me while I'm waiting for my desktop to get over. Let me just give a hi to Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Thanks for joining me. I know there's a few other people joining me as well, so that's great. So please let me know where you're joining me from. And you know, give me a wave or a heart or a smiley face or something like that while you're watching, and then it lets me know that you're here, because I'm actually using a software called Zoom to take this through to you, so I can't always see what's going on. So I'm going to share my desktop with you, and we're going to look at where you can find stories on your desktop. Okay, so here I am on my business page. So this is my business page. This is where you guys are at the moment watching this live. And to see my stories on my desktop, you see where I have this plus here, that's for me to add a story to my desktop. But if I was to click at the top, where it says options, oops, it did it all automatically. You just click it and it actually opens up the story. So as you can see my story. You can flick through my story if you want to, or you can just completely watch it. And then once it's finished, it just goes away. Now on your home page of your desktop in Facebook, so this is my home. This is where you see all the other little bits that you're in, like your groups and things like that. Hi, Natalie. Then to find stories on your desktop, you go over here on the right-hand side. You see here, it has a list of people that are making stories, and then you can click see more, and it opens up a big list of people's stories for you to view on your desktop. So it's not always as clear on your desktop where you can find your stories, but it's a little bit easier if you go onto your home page. So to find your home page, you click on the home and it brings you to this page. And then you can see the stories. So Mary Smith's a fantastic Facebook guru in the States. If I click on her story, you see it opens up and you see she's got a live video where she's got the actual volume on. I'm just going to mute her volume. And she's obviously at an aquarium somewhere. And as you can see at the top here, see, it tells you how long ago her stories went up. And then she's also tagged somebody in it, in her story. So there's quite a lot of versatility into what you can do. And then you just keep going through the stories. If you want to come out of that story, you just click off of it, and then you just click on here. Okay, so I'm going to look at the questions in a minute. Then we're going to go over to Instagram. I just want to show you whether we can, where you can find how you can view the stories on Instagram. Now, remember that Instagram is primarily a mobile platform. You can't upload to your stories through Instagram or onto your feed through Instagram on a desktop. You have to do everything on your mobile. So I'm going to go to my home page here. And to view my story, you would click on the circle, so the profile picture. So if you were on anyone else's profile, you would view the story by clicking on there, and the stories will open up on your desktop. Okay, so if you were searching for somebody, or you were looking at your follower, like if you were following anyone, or you were looking at your followers, you would do the same. So if you go to your feed, so let's just go back to like the basics. So we see what's going on in our feed here. You see on the right hand side here, there is some stories. So even on the desktop, you can view the stories. You just can't add to your stories on Instagram in your desktop. You can add to your stories on Facebook on your desktop, but not in Instagram. So then you would click on one of the stories and it would open up for you to view what their story was. That's Molly, she's great. Facebook Live expert and ManyChat expert over on Facebook as well. So that's how you find the stories here. And again, you can do a hashtag search on your desktop, and it should show you the stories as well. You see where the little line around the outside is going? That means that there are stories related to the hashtag marketing, and these come up randomly depending on how many times they've been viewed, how the algorithm is searching for them, and things like that on your desktop. And it gives you the opportunity to follow other people or to find other information about marketing of your work, because when you go up here, you can click on their name and it shows you. So then you can go to their profile and you can actually follow them. So I'm going to stop my share there. And I'm just going to briefly go over what I've covered today, and then I'm going to look at all the questions here. Let me just turn that off because that's still going. I'm just going to shut that down. So I'm just going to drop that so that I can see you guys. Okay, so briefly what we've done today is we've gone over what are stories. So we've looked at what are stories, and we've looked at where you can find your stories on Facebook and on Instagram, on your desktop and on your mobile. So I'm aware that there's a few people watching, so I'm just going to have a quick look at my iPad to see if any of you have got any questions. So Debbie's asked, what kind of content would be good for stories? Okay, so we are going to be going over that on day 4 this week, on what content is good for stories. But content that you need to use for your stories can be themed. And one of the reasons I'm doing this mini challenge, mini training course this week, is because I want to show you all how to use stories for a purpose, and that purpose is to make your stories work for you as an entrepreneur and to have meaning behind it. So the best thing to do for what is stories is so I'm just checking when I'm going to be doing it. So yeah, so day 3 is how to create a story. We'll be talking about content then. And day 5 is how we're going to be covering stories content planning. So on Friday, we'll be going through the planning of content. And that's what well, we'll go into that in a bit more depth, but just to answer your question now, what kind of content? You can have behind the scenes content. You can have a story where you show a product, like you highlight a product launch or a service launch. You can have a day in the life of, so you can take people on a journey, like an experience. You can use it to showcase a product that you're using at the moment. You can use stories for reviews. So there's quite a lot of themes that you can use for your stories. And what my whole drive for this week's mini training is to show you how to use your stories with purpose. Because when you look at stories, a lot of stories from the businesses that we see aren't being put up with purpose in mind, with your goal in mind or your intention in mind. So we're going to be covering that later in the week. So what type of content can you start off with? You could do a whole week's worth of highlighting some products that you have. You could do a whole week of introducing yourself to your followers. You could do that in a day. You could do it in a couple of days. And you can always tell them that you're going to be doing it again tomorrow. If you're active on stories and your followers get used to you being active on stories, then they will come back to look for more. So I'm going to wrap up today's training, and tomorrow we are going to be doing what is the difference between Facebook stories and Instagram stories. There is quite a lot of difference between the functionality of the stories. The actual stories, there's no difference, but the functionality of the two platforms, there is a huge difference to what you can do with your stories. And I would love for you to come back tomorrow morning at 10:30 and watch this again. If you are watching this on the replay, please pop any questions you have about what are stories in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Thanks so very much, Debbie and Natalie, for joining me today, and I will see you tomorrow, hopefully. Bye for now.